Hello and welcome to our next episode of reviews for the season 5 of the 100. We just got done watching episode 7, Acceptable Losses. Overall, I really enjoyed it. It may be that I just missed 100 and it was cool to have it back after a week off, but I enjoyed the episode quite a lot. I thought it was pretty cool how they indicated at the beginning of the episode that Maddie might be interested in going to war for Shadow Valley. I forgot exactly what she said. I didn't write it down, but I seem to feel like at the very beginning of the episode that she wanted to fight a war. And then at the very end, that's where they ended the episode with her kind of showing off her battle prowess to Octavia in that sparring match with Ethan. And then yeah, she became Octavia's second, and that's exactly what Maddie wanted. That's exactly what Octavia wants. It's not what Clark wants. It's not what Gaia wants, but it seemed to be where they were going with this episode. It definitely was indicated at several points throughout the episode, because Gaia didn't want her to show off too much. And then Maddie's like, "What? Do you want me to fail?" "No, I want you to live." That's what she said, right? And I thought that was really like an interesting line, because Maddie doesn't see that as living. Like, that's hiding. She doesn't want to hide like Octavia used to hide underneath the ground on the ark, and like she used to back in Shadow Valley. She wants to be like Octavia. Octavia's her hero, and I think part of this is coming from the fact that Clark kind of built up Octavia into this really like amazing hero that she wanted Maddie to meet, but she's not all like the good stories. There's definitely a lot of stuff that Clark didn't tell Maddie about her hero that she's gonna have to learn firsthand. And I think that might start to come through in the next couple episodes. I think she might start to disagree with Octavia and the fact that she's like willing to let defectors be experimented on. I really liked how when Octavia was confronted about that, she said to Clark, "Miller told me about how you irradiated somebody in Becca's lab," and that to me is just like it was a pretty cool line, because it just kind of reminds you that Miller's on Octavia's side and he's been with her for years, and that's where his loyalties are now. He's told her everything about Clark, and that's probably actually informed Octavia and her decisions in the bunker. She's probably had to do some pretty nasty things, like experiment with some weird things. What did you think when they saw Cooper wheeling that dead person behind the curtain?
Like what I thought was that going on?
Yeah, what do you think she was trying to do with the body?
Well, they showed us. What do you mean?
But before they showed you, did you have like any guesses as to what they were going to try and do? Because like I had a theory, and it was completely different than what they did.
Well, you said they were eating people.
I thought, yeah, they were cannibalizing them or something weird, or like using them in the farms maybe to help grow food or something weird like that. I didn't know why the crops were failing. Maybe they weren't getting enough nutrition, and maybe it's like, you know, once one crew, somebody in one crew dies, they're returned to the tribe, kind of like, you know, in Dune. They had these like water suits, and when somebody dies, their water is returned to the tribe. So yeah, it's kind of weird, but I think it could have been an interesting reference, but they went a very different route with the worms, right? And I'm thinking that they'll probably come back to that again. The worms are actually a little bit more interesting than I originally thought. I thought it was just like a cheap Aliens knockoff, but they're actually weaponizing them, which I think may have been a plot in a later Aliens film at one point. They probably did that, but it's done in a way that isn't too, I think, cheesy. It adds to the show in enough of a way that I'm okay with that. It definitely made that whole interaction with Cooper and Indra and Octavia very interesting. I like Indra and Octavia. I feel like Indra reminds Octavia of her past in a way. Like, tethers her to it in a way that most people in the bunker haven't been able to. She definitely wants Bellamy and her to work together, and that doesn't seem to be likely. In fact, Bellamy may try to kill her in the next episode. Who knows? It sounds like they're going to try to take her out. I don't know what that means, but it can't really end that well for Octavia, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they turn her over to Diyoza, then she's probably a goner. I like the stuff with Diyoza this episode. The big reveal. Spoilers, she's pregnant. Which I thought is a really, really... it came out of nowhere. It was not what I was predicting. I thought, you and me both thought that maybe somebody would have had a kid up in space or like in the bunker, and that didn't seem to happen, so we kind of gave up on that hope. And now this character that we just met randomly, she's pregnant. Who's the father? I have no idea. Shaw, McCreary, some random other person. I have no clue what happened there, but I definitely want to know more. Like, that's something that I really enjoyed seeing, because it brings so many more questions towards a character that I think they've already developed really, really, really well. She started off the episode really well with some lines about them being the keepers and having a lot of responsibilities, which makes sense to me, as she probably sees herself as kind of like as a caretaker for the group. Like, she's taking on a motherly role for not just her child, but like all these prisoners, all these undesirables. She doesn't want to throw them aside. She sees the value in them, and she wants to take care of them all, which I think is pretty admirable. Like, she probably has some darker sides to her, just like Octavia, and Octavia has some redeemable qualities, and we may start to see that a little bit more. But I'm not too sure. I think it's actually more likely that Octavia's going to be like pretty evil. Do you remember if it was if Karen was dating that guy that was being experimented on in the tank? I think his name was Tarek. I remember Andrew saying like some kind of thing about him being Shadow Valley, and I'm pretty sure if he's Shadow Valley, then he was the guy that was dating Karina or Karen. I forget what her name was. The two that came to Echo and were like, let's go run off to...
Oh, right. Karina.
I'm pretty sure those two were the two that were dating in that one episode, right? And they both died. One at the very beginning of this episode and one closer towards the end of the episode.
Yeah.
I felt like when I found out that he was also Shadow Valley, and they were probably that couple, I think that they both didn't have to die. Like, they were both wounded in that last episode, but they were considered acceptable losses for one reason or another. Like, what's her face? Abby didn't do her job. She's taking pills. That's an acceptable loss. And then Octavia is
experimenting on people.
Yeah, experimenting with people to try and get the advantage. So that's an acceptable loss. And I thought it was really cool how they kind of like wove that message throughout this episode. Even Order 11, which they mentioned a long time ago, it had that kind of theme. They're going to leave the prisoners and bring home the how do you say that word again? Hythodium? Hythodium? That sounds right.
Hythodium?
Yeah, something along those lines. That was all about like an acceptable loss. Like, they don't need these prisoners. It's totally okay to leave them behind in exchange for this really nice fuel. Who cares that they're really sick? They'll deal with that problem when they get back home. Which probably isn't the best solution, because then it's going to take more people getting sick for them to actually find a cure. But it was a really like just kind of like short-term focused goal, or you know what I mean, like a short-term
payoff kind of thing.
Short-term plan. I don't think Diyoza's sick. I think the only reason she didn't go to Kane and Abby about getting tested was she was pregnant, right? Like, she may be sick, but I'm pretty sure she's actually okay. And, 75% of her people are dying, but for some reason she's just doing this out of, like, the goodness of her heart. She's trying to save them because she wants to take care of them. I think that would make her character a little bit more interesting. So sometimes they throw us curveballs here and there. Like the fact that they betrayed Shaw. I didn't think that Echo and Raven would Trey Shaw, but they were able to take down the Eye in the Sky, and that was all because they had that one advantage that Raven didn't want to use, and Echo convinced her, we have to do this. Another acceptable loss, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was really cool, the stuff with Ethan and Maddie in this episode, of how Ethan kind of showed up Maddie in the initial sparring encounter, but that was only because Maddie was letting him win, and he's just kind of like, he thinks he's he's a really great fighter, but he's not Nightblood. Like, Nightbloods,
Right.
for some reason, they're just better at fighting. There's something about them that is actually better at fighting for one reason or another. They're faster, stronger, and they will probably get into that more when they go to space next season. I think they're going to space, right?
Probably, yeah.
Monty said something, right? Something like, God, I miss space, when they were talking about the algae, which they'll probably use at the end of the season to save people from both sides. There'll probably be some people in the valley, or maybe no valley, and everybody who does survive lives in the bunker, who knows? Or in space. I think they're going to space. So maybe the valley's just trash, the bunker's kind of trash, but they're going to use algae to live out off in space for whatever reason, or go elsewhere, somewhere safer. That's my prediction for the end of the season. I think they're going to have to throw something interesting to speculate on, so why not go to space? I'm pretty sure that's everything I wanted to say. Do you remember us talking about anything or saying anything in my notes that I may have missed? Oh, Jasper's note. I thought that was cool. The whole thing about what he said about the tunnel, and how there is no light at the end of the tunnel, there's only the tunnel. And it definitely is like, that makes sense from somebody in that point of view who's been through the kind of stuff that he's been through. And it was very appropriate for Monty to see that when he did, and for him to kind of get that push, like, because he didn't want to go down the same cycle, but he's going to do it a different way than Jasper. He's not going to give up on life. For whatever reason, he wants to keep going forward. Maybe it's Harper, maybe it's something else, but he's a pretty strong guy. He's like a strong character, so I don't think he's going to give up on life anytime soon. And he may be the reason that there was the next season, that they don't all die at the end of this one, right? Yeah. The Battle of San Francisco is a pretty cool reference. Shaw mentioned how Diyoza was there and that she cared more about the people than the equipment. I'd like to know more about that, and they'll probably explain that. But I'm pretty sure that's everything I wanted to cover in this episode. Overall, we liked it.
Yep.
And we're stoked for the next episode. I actually didn't catch when that was at the end of this one, but I hope it's soon. We'll see you whenever that comes out.